All right.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the wonderful world of podcasting.
Yay, we're all here. Craig's even here. Awesome.
Craig's here. Storyteller's here.
Who's storyteller?
Ginger's here. Fat Man's here. Bruce isn't here.
Yeah, I don't see him.
No.
Oh, well, not like he wasn't expected, but he's definitely welcome. But not here.
Yeah, I think he'll be here sooner or later. Maybe for something. Bruce the Beer Bandit, the Drunk with Buds podcast.
That's right. Definitely check out the podcast, Drunk with Buds.
Yeah, I got another project I'm working on with him for a little and we're gonna start recording some stuff for that this weekend, so I'm looking forward to that.
Sweet.
Another podcast.
Yeah, I know you guys had been talking about another podcast.
Well, it's less of a podcast, and it's more just kind of like bedtime stories for kids that we've made up.
I mean, that's cool and all, but we really only need the one bedtime story, the one told by Samuel Jackson.
That's true.
That's the only like bedtime story the world needs.
Go to fuck to sleep. Yeah. Anyways, how are you recovering from our LARP weekend?
Oh God, today was recovery day, and that's all I did was recover. I barely left my chair. I slept a lot. It was a good day.
So the one thing I do want to talk about is just kind of the same thing that I do with my players when we're doing D&D stuff. I always set up a D&D encounter or even like a LARP encounter with what I want to do. Okay. Yep. So I had a module that had a bunch of props. All right. And the concept is they had walked into Ripley's Believe It or Not. All right.
Awesome.
And okay. I had all these stupid props out, and I was just making up bullshit stories with them.
Mm-hmm.
And the players took every single item we had there and ran with it to its most extreme extent, and were able to come up with the most creative solutions to the problems. And I'm just sitting there just going, yes, that's absolutely what you think it is. They're telling me what it is, and then they're like, oh my God, we guessed correctly. Yes, you did. You guessed 100% correctly. When I didn't have anything planned for it.
It's like you're running an adventure of Brindlewood Bay.
Yeah.
Because that's literally how that game works.
So it was a lot of fun, and I was really happy that everyone was able to, kind of see my style of DMing in a live action sort of thing. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I didn't think it'd do anything terrible to you, but there's always next month.
That's because I stayed away. I saw the butcher. And I'm like, that's a nope. and then I saw I don't know what it was, the Pillsbury Doughboy, the little sailor boy. I don't know.
So I came out as a guy covered in bloody tattoos, and you didn't do anything with him. And then I came out with basically a sailor in a sailor costume that was 2 sizes too small. And actually, the shirt that I wore was a medium, like a men's, like a girl's medium.
And I can't even hardly fit in a men's medium, and you are twice the size of me.
I stretched the shit out of that shirt. Let's be frank about it. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I like one thing, I think my love for props and stupid hats for the LARP comes from my want of minis on a D&D table.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you don't need them. Everyone can use theater of the mind, but when you can see something and then hold something and then throw something and then like eat something, like it adds to the experience, especially when you're
not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. Like, especially at the LARP, if you had just come out dressed in normal costuming and told everybody you're a sailor, they would have rolled with it. It would have been fine. Instead, you came dressed as a little sailor boy. I couldn't even look at you. Like, I was just trying not to laugh. But you got lots of interaction because of it.
Oh, I did. I sure as fuck did. It was pretty great. And So hopefully people enjoyed it. I haven't seen a best of thread yet, so
I haven't either, oddly enough.
Ye-
There's usually one up on Sunday.
yeah, there's usually one up on Sunday. So all I can think of is everyone's too exhausted from the weekend, which is a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to LARP a lot. Most of the time, I'm pretty tired. Sometimes I get back and I'm good to go. This time, I was really exhausted. Like it just whipped my ass.
I think it was cicada noise that was everywhere because
No, that's not
the
it.
the mental sound just burring through your brain.
No, because I literally hear that from sun up to sundown where I live. I shit you not. I've got 100,000 of those fuckers in the woods directly behind my house.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Um,
I'm just used to car alarms going off around me these days because that's what the fuck it sounds like.
so yeah, it was pretty intense and shit. What was I gonna say? Oh, the power went out while we were
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah, that was
Yeah.
weird.
The best part is for those of you who don't know what the LARP is that we do. It's live action D&D essentially, and it's in the middle of a state park where there's very little electricity, but there's enough that we can run like rope lights to illuminate our cabins and pretend that we have a special magical ward. There's some park lights and floodlights that just already that exist on the park,
And
and
the biggest thing is every cabin you can plug up fans.
yeah, but we had the power go out. It was just our park and I think an adjacent park that had the problem. Some resistor or something went out.
Hmm.
And my god, did it get dark. Without that little tiny bit of ambient light that we seem to give off, man, that place got dark as shit.
Yeah.
And we were in the middle of the mod that the mod I was talking about earlier, with the Ripley's Believe It or Not. And one player's like, are we gonna cancel the LARP now? I was like, dude, we played the dark anyways.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I like went out into the center of town where the most light would be, like, holy shit, this place is dark as hell. Like,
Yeah, because in the middle of the town, you have the two lights between the Healers Guild building
yeah,
and the Mages Guild building. So there's always some ambient light running around on that site, but there was nothing.
yeah. And like, so I kind of basically was thinking about like encounters that I've run for D&D that basically are like dark encounters in the middle of the night, and why you would have disadvantage on attacking and stuff like that. And like we really want to have disadvantage on attacking, but man, my footing and movement was slowed. I ran
Oh
into one of the
yeah.
knee breakers that they had up there, like the giant things that stop the cars from rolling
Hmm.
down hills. I ran into one of those and was limping for the rest of the night. Like, attacking wasn't a problem, but man, walking around was the worst.
Yeah.
And I'm usually pretty good in the dark, and it was
Yeah.
it was insane.
In real combat, the worst thing that can happen is losing your footing.
Yeah,
And not having vision at all makes that very treacherous, especially when you're in the woods.
yeah. So I mean, we did it. We fought in the parking lot essentially, and it still was a hazard. Um, when we did the first field battle on the first night, us and the plot team was fighting down a hill essentially to the players, and there was a cabin in the distance that had these purple rope lights up. I could not see a damn thing, and just could not fight anybody because I was just blind the entire time. Like, I couldn't see anybody. It just wasn't safe. I kept falling down the hill and charging people essentially, and wasn't trying
Mhm.
to. But I'm glad everyone had a good time though.
Yeah, I had a
Uh,
great time. It was a good event. Lots of
Good.
fun.
Now,
Go ahead.
now on to real news about D&D.
Oh, I was gonna talk about an upcoming event
Oh,
if
well,
you want,
real
but if
news
you
first.
yeah, you can do your conversation first.
So, Cynthia Williams has a new job.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Is she
She
working at Subway?
no,
Okay, so she's working at the front desk of a bank.
no.
Walmart, checkout employee?
CEO of Funko Pop.
Ah, I am so sorry, Funko.
Yeah, get prepare for a lot of microtransactions and cigarettes that now show up in your pop figures instead of your D&D books and Magic
Well,
the
my
Gathering
my
cards.
my assumption is that going forward, that Funko is going to try to start releasing, like, phone, games for your phone or something.
Um, Probably they have been working into that market. There is a couple Funko video games that came out recently.
Oh, see, I didn't
Um,
even know that. I'm not surprised because it's why not? You've got yeah, if you have the rights to do stuff like that with a lot of the IPs, then of course you should.
yeah, it's called Funko Fusion. It's a third-person, story-driven action video game. And I think there's a couple others coming out with different Funko property, kind of like how Lego
Right.
has the
Yep.
Lego Star Wars and Lego. They're making Funko brand Marvel games and Funko brand Star
Yeah.
Wars games.
And I
Which,
assume I assumed that's what it would be like is the
yeah,
Lego stuff.
I mean, and those are very well done and very popular. If they find the right
Yeah.
studio to do those, they're going to be pretty good.
Yeah, most of the Lego stuff, the movies and like I've seen a few of the Lego movies and they're generally pretty fun. They're entertaining. There's a bunch of little jokes in there and both kids and adults can be entertained by them.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so what's your thing? That's all I had. That's my one topic, and it lasted for literally 2 minutes.
All
So
right, sweet. Well, I hope we can do 50 minutes on the upcoming festival of the Tarrasque.
the Festival of the Tarrasque.
Hold on. This is a real thing. This actually happens. The last Sunday of every June is actually the Festival of the Tarrasque.
Okay, color me
Uh,
intrigued.
yeah, in France, they have the Festival of
No
the
longer
Tarrasque.
intrigued.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's where the Tarrasque is from.
Yes.
So it's actually an old ass folk tale from like the 1200s. I think it was like Saint Martha or something or other. Uh, I'm just going to go with that. Yeah, Saint Martha, who actually battled the Tarrasque by sprinkling holy water on it and then waving a cross at it,
Yeah.
taking control of it, putting a leash around it, and dragging it into town so that all the villagers could kill it. You know,
Yes.
beat it to death with sticks and stones and shit.
It's a retelling of the old Leviathan story in the Old Testament.
Actually, the festival of the Tarrasque, or the Tarrasque in general, is actually supposed to be a spawn of the Leviathan,
Okay.
like one of the children of the Leviathan.
Yeah, that's how Leviathan dies. Is God stupefies it, has its head stick out in the harbor. They sail ships around it, and then drag it to shore into the middle of town, and they stab it to death.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, I just thought I found out about this, and it's a real festival, which is freaking awesome. And the original Tarrasque, the mythological Tarrasque is not even remotely what we as Dungeons and Dragons players are used to.
No, but
Uh,
that's where they got the name.
yeah. So let's see. The beast had a lion-like head, a body protected by a turtle-like carapace. It had 6 feet with bear-like claws, a serpent's tail, and it could spit a poisonous breath. Uh, and rough size, at least from the art that's been done on it and the festival itself, it's probably I don't know 12 feet long or so. So plenty
Yeah.
big enough to fuck a person up.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yep. So I don't know exactly how we got from that version of the Tarrasque to the Gary Gygax version of the Tarrasque, which is much more akin to the actual Leviathan. Yeah, a literal, not world killer, but city killing beast.
There are other lores about sleeping dragons, essentially, and sleeping creatures and mountains. That was actually, in fact, one of the things I was during the festival. Again, not to bring it back to the LARP, but that's what I did. So, I was telling a story about as one of my storytelling characters, just talking to people. I was trying to convince them that there was an ancient barbarian legend that one of the cataclysms that happened to the planet Amroth, where the LARP is based on, um, was actually incurred by a mountain range sized cicada that wakes up every 13th generation of the 13th generation of the 13th generation. And I swear to God, I wanted someone just to dive straight into that and try to figure that one out. But no one did. Made me sad.
That is a shame.
Yeah,
But at least people did like the monsters that were sent out. There were some giant cicadas.
there were.
It
There
would have
definitely were.
it would have been a disappointment and a goddamn travesty if that didn't happen this weekend.
They were so loud. Like I'm aware of, as a northerner, of the cicada sound, but man, I've never heard it that loud, that consistent.
So it's about 5 times that loud at my house.
Ugh,
I'm not even kidding.
ugh, sounds
So,
horrible.
oh, it's awful. I close my door and turn on a fan, and I don't really hear it. But if I step outside, oh my god,
Meh.
yeah, just screaming, raging cicada sex up in the trees.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that white noise from the Enterprise that you can find on YouTube. 10 hours of that, like the Enterprise warp core hum.
Yeah,
Like I like that. That's very very soothing. It helps my brain quite a bit. But man, that cicada noise. Like I found a couple like cicada noise generators. Like a hard
hmm
pass.
yeah, yeah. No, it's not a sound you want to be hearing.
Yeah, hard
Uh,
pass on that
yeah.
forever.
So at some point we need to make a trip over to France just to go to the Tarrasque festival and then quickly get the hell out of France. So,
I wouldn't mind it. There's a lot of history there too.
oh
Uh,
yeah, of course there is.
so another thing to kind of bounce off of their Terras. It's not Elder Brain related.
I pulled up the Elder Brain Tarrasque today, and I'm like, nah. I'm just going to talk about the festival of the Tarrasque. We're not talking about the Elder Brain Tarrasque today.
So back in the day when they made the Planescape and the Spelljammer video games
Yep.
for the PC, I can't remember what studio made it. Um,
Oh, was it? I don't even know actually.
yeah, I don't remember either. I never actually played them myself, but I saw just a passing YouTube video about, hey, did you know this video game fact? And I was like, that's bullshit. Before I tell what it is, I'm telling the backstory to it.
Okay,
So
real quick, it was Black Isle Studios, and
okay,
they did use BioWare's Baldur's Gate engine for it.
okay. So they supposedly made, for the Planescape game, a Tarrasque model. All right,
All right.
for content that was going to be used, but they never got that around to doing that. It just fell out of scope. Okay.
Yeah.
So that studio, I guess, had some interaction with the studio that made Fallout 1 and 2
Yeah, probably.
and sold a lot of their um, art assets to them that they didn't use,
Right,
including that Tarrasque model.
right, which is why we have death claws.
And that Tarrasque model became the first Deathclaw.
Yeah, you can look at the two and be like, yeah, that's just a
I
small ass Tarrasque.
Yeah, I always thought, yeah, that's just a small ass Tarrasque. And hell, that's what I used when I was running a Tarrasque plotline in the LARP at one time,
Hmm.
the Death Claws.
Yep.
But I always kind of like, it always sat there in my brain, like, yeah, that's a Tarrasque. That's obviously a Tarrasque, you know.
Yeah.
But then, like, until they confirmed us, like, holy shit, that is a Tarrasque.
Yeah. I never knew that they actually did that
Yeah,
until now when you've told me that. But it made as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, that makes immediate sense.
yeah, it's really weird. Like, it didn't trigger until just then. Like, oh yeah,
Yep.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Speaking of since we're talking Fallout briefly, have you seen the new Neebs video?
I don't know who's Neebs.
Ah, okay, so Neebs is a YouTuber. Him and a bunch of his friends, they release video game content. They've started playing 7 Days to Die Fallout Edition.
Okay.
So just check it out. I figured you'd be interested in it.
I mean, everyone's playing everything Fallout related right now because that show just
Yeah,
blew everybody's minds. And
but
yeah,
they're playing one of our favorite games of all time, 7 Days to Die, and it's a Fallout mod.
yeah, there's a number of Fallout mods to that game. Some of them are better than others.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. But anyway.
So, uh,
So
as promised,
what
I'm
book are we talking about today?
we're gonna go through a couple books in my stack that I received from Synergy Gaming Store down here in Charleston, South Carolina, and I saved this for a weekend in which we didn't have a lot to talk about, and I didn't have a lot of topics, and Blarp weekend was just it. Because in the stack that I got 3 adventure modules that unfortunately are missing their adventures. Okay.
You got the covers?
So I got the covers. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, so the old modules, they used to come with like this trifold cover, and inside there was a separate unattached piece of paper that was the book. So like you could, pull out the cover and kind of use it as almost like a makeshift DM screen.
A lot of them also have maps attached on
Yeah,
the
there's a
insides of
lot of
them.
maps attached. So the first one that I got here is M4 for characters levels 28 to 32.
Ooh,
Dungeon and Dragons. I believe this is
it's basic.
it's basic, yeah. It's called 5 coins for a kingdom. All right. And in on the first part of the leaflet, there's basically pictures of a copper coin, silver, electrum, gold, and platinum with different faces, with the descriptions and the powers that these coins seem to have. I don't know if they're magical coins or whatnot. Um, but they also have like a kind of like character effect on them that happens if you loot these coins. So I
Okay.
assume those are the 5 coins for the kingdom.
So real quick, I'm looking at the cover at least for this thing.
Yeah.
The guy that's there with the horns on his head,
Yeah.
that's literally just Monty Python's Tim.
Yeah. It's Monty Python's Tim. Yeah.
There are
Um,
those who call me Tim.
and then it has a combined monster statistics chart, which is great. Um, because it's like I said, if this is almost like a makeshift DM screen, and it has 4 DM maps on it. So I don't have the adventure that goes with it, but I do have this cover, and I think the cover probably is going to be the harder thing to find in good condition.
Usually that is the case, yeah.
Yeah. So the next 2 um, are for D&D Second Edition,
Oh, okay.
and they're also adventure covers. The first one is GAS 11 and GAS 12. The
Okay.
Dungeons and Dragons Gazetter,
Oh, yeah.
the official game accessory. Um, Again, these just have maps on the inside and kind of some explanation, but I don't have the adventure that goes with it. But I have no
Ah,
idea what this is. I don't know what the Gazetter is.
the Gazette here,
Is it here?
yeah, it I remember it from 3rd edition. I don't remember it from 2nd edition.
Yeah, this is
It
compatible with the AD&D Second Edition, a D&D game, and a D&D
sorry,
game systems.
what was the code numbers for that?
GAZ 11 and 12.
Okay, I'm seeing if I can the Republic of Darakin, maybe?
Yeah, so the 11 is the Republic of Darokin, which is
Okay.
like a French quarter rapier
Yeah,
Renaissance
very
style.
Renaissance.
And the second one is the Golden Khan of Ethengar, which is kind of like a Mongolian style adventure.
Okay. Uh, yeah, like I never actually owned any of these from 2nd edition or 3rd edition. Might
Mhm.
not have been 3rd edition, might have been 2nd. It's been too many years. I don't know. I didn't know if they were adventures or what they were, honestly. So we're actually looking at something I'm mostly clueless about.
Yeah. And what's weird is like there's one part of the leaflet, it's like the advertising for the Gazetter, and
Mhm.
I think it has all the modules, maybe all the modules, I'm not sure. But it's all one world, it looks like. And then each adventure is pointing to a separate like block of land in the giant hex grid, saying, okay, this one here, like the Dwarves of Rockholm points to Rockholm region on this map.
That would make sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a whole world with different adventures per each section, which is something D&D lacks currently now.
Yeah. So it, typically, like a gazette is it's a magazine or a local newspaper. Like it's information about a location in
Mhm.
general. So that would make perfect sense why these would be. Yeah, you've got your hexagrid map, and this is about this area.
Yeah. Um So
By the
I
sorry,
really want to find the adventures on this one, and
you can actually pick them up on Drive Through RPG. If you just want the PDFs of them, I'm just saying. The
yeah, I want to see if I can find the actual like original ones and stick them
Yeah,
in the actual adventure. You know?
that would be ideal, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, finding them separated from the cover for sale is the trick.
maybe,
That's a little tricky. And by the way, the one you've got kind of pricey, kind of
but it's just the
pricey.
cover though.
Yeah, I know. But if you had the whole thing, it's there. That shit's not cheap.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't, or I'd be very happy. I would love to read these. They do look quite fantastic. But one thing I do have that is 100% complete is the Dungeons and Dragons DM's Guide to Immortals.
Yeah. Do you have both books from that box set?
There's both. There's
Uh,
two.
pretty sure.
Because I only have one for what that's
Uh,
worth. Um,
I'm not 100% positive since I never actually owned that set. I owned the first four. The fifth one I never had.
okay. So this book kind of goes over what an immortal is in D&D.
Okay. Yes, there are two books.
Okay. Their physical characteristics, adventure planning with immortals. And when you kind of look at the more specifics, it goes into basically what the planes of existence are and what the prime is and what the multiverse is and the astral plane, the ethereal plane, and how everything works together.
Hmm.
Things that I've been questioning my entire time while playing fifth edition and getting the bullshit answers that the Spelljammer books kind of gave that kind of just didn't explain it with any kind of good graphs at all.
Right.
And this has the pictures right here, like straight up. Like, I don't know why you would ever change this. It definitely needs to be, republished at some point in time, you know?
Yeah.
So, like,
It's the here's the problem with that because one, it's basic Dungeons and Dragons. The planescape between basic Dungeons and Dragons and first and second edition D&D, I think was more or less the same, but in third edition they changed how the planescape laid out. We've talked about it on here before.
yeah, that's why I don't want to delve too much into it.
Yeah.
But just in the way they present it in this book, it's like, okay, here's a planescape, here's the text on it, here's the image that associates with it. And they don't do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's like they're so afraid of the word count getting too high or people not wanting to read the information. Um, it's just kind of sad. And they still have plenty of space in this book, which is only like 50 or so pages, to talk about new spells, new monsters, um, how everything gets laid out, new character statistics, new abilities if they become an immortal,
Yeah.
and get those deity powers, how to progress deities, you know.
That's
Like,
cool. Yeah, I figured the player's book would be the one that had all of that, like the information. Well, I'm sure the player's book has all the information on how you level up your character and what you can do once you've got deific powers.
yeah.
Uh, but
Uh,
I'm glad the DM's guide has some of that.
And one thing I do want to show off, and I'll put this picture up on our Discord if anybody wants to take a look at it. But it's basically the image of the Demogorgon and I think Orcus. Now, if you Google Orcus right now and you look at him, Orcus looks pretty badass. The fifth edition one looks very demonic. He looks scary. But I really haven't been impressed with the Demogorgon. Um, and for those of you that are confused and thinking of Demogorgons from Stranger Things as a giant flower-based tooth monster,
That's
it's
not good.
actually it's actually a two-headed baboon monster with tentacles for arms.
Snakes for arms.
Tentacles,
Go ahead.
tentacles. But anyways, I'll post it in our podcast chat part just so you can see it. It's it's quite terrifying, and if that was the picture they were still using and updating, I would be I'd be using this Demogorgon a lot more. Essentially, what it looks like is it still has the two monkey baboon heads, but they look more like King Kong. All right. Then it has Godzilla's body, and then it has long, giant tentacle arms that it uses. So I don't know. I feel this one is much more terrifying than the current one that's out there, even though I have models of it and there's better drawings, quote unquote. But still, it's just weird.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the 5e Demogorgon. If I was like the 5e one, honestly, it looks more terrifying to fight, but there is something about that early D&D art that makes it look archaic, like something you would see that's biblical almost,
Yeah,
it's disconcerting and very terrifying.
yeah. You look at the Orcus compared to the 5e Orcus. The new Orcus looks better, but this old Demogorgon, man, it just looks like it will come alive and destroy your city.
Yeah. Like it really will eat your soul. It's not just going to rend you limb from limb. Like
Yeah,
it's really hard to explain it, but you look at that old artwork and it's just creepier.
yeah. Maybe it's because it's in black and white, and that helps. Like
Could
your
be. Yeah.
mind fills in that kind of color.
That probably is the case
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
because
But
now
yeah,
you yeah.
that is pretty much just going through these old books is fantastic, and I still got a number more to go through.
That's good. I'm glad that you're finally getting to dig through this stuff and see all the old stuff I grew up with. You know, it's very much a different game than what it used to be. And some of it for the better, some of it for the worse. Like the system in general, it's cleaner, it's easier, it's smoother, works better these days. But a lot of the feel that is old Dungeons and Dragons is no longer there. And that does matter. It makes a difference.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. All right, well, that's everything that I had. So what's next on your agenda?
Oh, well, you might want to pull out another book then.
Oh, Jesus! All right.
Apparently, we're just breezing through shit tonight. Well, it's okay. If we have to, I still have Elder Brain Tarrasque pulled up.
No, it's okay. We're not going to talk about the Elder Brain Tarrasque.
I
We
haven't
have
closed it yet.
we have Elder Brain Tarrasque at home.
We do?
No.
Oh,
Um,
okay. No, I wanted to. The other thing I had pulled up. You ever heard of a module called the Terrible Trouble at Tragidore?
no.
I hadn't either. I had to look this thing up. Apparently, it's the worst module ever written for Dungeons and Dragons.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
And I had to dig into it to find out why it was like really just lambasted, why everybody hates it. And apparently, a lot of the reason people hate it is just because a lot of the early modules were actually really good and well written. And this one was just written poorly. Like there was things in it that had no purpose.
Yeah.
So for his example, one of the things that you deal with a lot in the module is dark elves in the woods who have a mine.
Okay.
That mine does not connect to the Underdark.
Okay.
Also, these dark elves are running around in the daylight in the woods. This
Okay.
this is I think this from second edition. It might be first edition. Like it's a completely pointless thing. I won't say it's pointless, obviously, for the module. I'm sure there's reasonings behind it, but there's no explanation given for why the hell these dark elves care about this random ass mine in the woods that doesn't connect to the Underdark. And once again, we're talking first, second edition. They're going to be evil. They're going to be from Menzoberranzan. You know that like that's just what they are.
Right.
Uh,
I mean, so this was an officially published module, right?
it is an official module, yes.
From
Uh,
what publisher?
TSR.
Oh, from TSR.
Y-
Okay.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
didn't have a good. Who was the editor on it?
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Anything from first or second edition. This would have been second edition, but anything from those editions is TSR. They didn't really. Well, I won't say that everything was TSR, but they didn't really allow people to write let's see. The designers were Gene and Bruce Rabb, who I've heard of before. So
Okay.
yeah, I guess they were they were the ones responsible for it.
All right. Hmm. Do they just not know that these guys don't do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I like I'm assuming that they had been around a long time by that point. Um, I haven't delved too deeply into the history of this, so maybe I should before we continue talking about it. But there was also a uh, like I haven't been able to find the details of it, but there's a Lamia in there that everybody has to deal with that apparently is just very, very poorly written. Um, the only thing that I've seen that people talked about that was really cool was a bunch of bandits that dress up as vampires and that you have an
Mhm.
encounter with. And yeah, it's all of like one little encounter, doesn't really have anything to do with the module.
Hmm.
And back then, clerics had an ability detect undead. So
Yeah.
as soon as you cast that, that whole encounter's done and over with.
I mean, yeah. I mean, how many encounters have I had recently that's just like, oh, if the paladin just used divine sense, it would be over with.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're surrounded by evil on all sides, even though it looks like a perfectly, safe place to be.
Yep.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying
I
to
mean,
find. I'm looking for more details on this thing, but I was hoping there was a Wikipedia or something for it. It doesn't seem to be.
the worst module. I mean, there's some pretty bad current stuff too, but
Yeah. What's the one? Which adventure was it where you have to fight the blue dragon at level 1? That's a 5e adventure.
I mean, the new starter kit has you fighting a bunch of dragons at like level 3, but
That might be it then.
yeah, and it just you're not supposed to, but it's very easy to do that. There is the ancient white dragon and Icewind Dale, which
Yeah, I mean that
never ends positively. You
yeah
know,
that's a random encounter.
yeah, random encounter and a set encounter in the book too.
My players ran into that dragon when I
Yeah,
ran it,
I mean to be
and
fair though, if you really dive deep into the lore, the dragon is crazy. It's blind, so there were a lot of like preparations in place for you not to die to this ancient dragon. But if it just breathed randomly in your direction, you're dead.
yes, my players did manage to survive it because of as you're talking about the things that are in place lore wise. Oddly enough, that allowed them to actually escape this thing. Because
Yeah,
if it was an ancient dragon that was well that really wanted to kill people, no, there's no way my 5th level PCs are going to get the hell away from that thing if it doesn't want them to.
right.
But
Uh, I'm sure there's worse adventures on DM's Guild, but those aren't really official.
yeah, oh,
But
I have no doubt. Well, shit, I've seen some things that are worse off of DM's Guild. I've
there's a couple YouTubers. All they do is they go through and they rate D&D homebrew items.
mhm.
Um, and
Let's
kind
talk
of
about
basically,
let's talk about the Chronomancer.
yeah. Um, and that actually leads me to my last topic because I actually had a surprise one just in case you didn't have any.
Oh, well,
Um,
I'm glad I had something to help fill in a little bit of the time this week. Normally we're not quite this bad off, but we had LARP this weekend, and it
oh,
really it just threw both of us off.
this is one that's actually quite concerning. I think, however, though, a lot of people are blowing it out of proportion because a lot of it hasn't been set in stone yet. Um, but with the announcement of 2024 going to Creative Commons, when that happened, the D&D Beyond website was revamped. All right.
Yes.
The store was revamped. I can't buy the new book because it just keeps glitching out on me. A bunch of stuff changed, and they also changed a lot of their policies with how they sell their content. And they're selling a lot of third-party content now. So one of the things that they got rid of was a feature that D&D Beyond had since its inception that allowed you to buy individual parts of a book for like $1 or $2 for some really reduced price.
What do you
Now,
mean
if you were to
individual? What do you mean
yeah,
individual parts of a book?
so I actually used this feature once when I was running through Tomb of the Annihilation because I was running out of the hardcover book and I had all the monsters I needed because they're very basic monsters. There's not really anything new in Tomb of Annihilation. All right, so there is outside of Tomb of Annihilation, just not in the Tomb of Annihilation. It's all like ghouls and vampires and skeletons and flesh golems and shit.
Hmm.
But there were two monsters that I didn't have, which was uh, Sararak and the Atropole. I didn't have those monsters. So instead of spending $30 on the adventure book and adding it to my D&D Beyond collection, I spent $4 and bought the stat block to both a Sararak and the Atropole. It was $2 a piece.
Okay, that's nickel and diming, but
It's nickel and dime.
yeah,
If
okay,
you buy everything individually, you're going to spend like 4 times the book price. So just buy the book,
yeah.
right?
But if you already have
Um,
the monster manual, everything else is in there. So
Pretty much, yeah,
I get it. Okay, that
yeah.
that works.
So I guess some people used it to basically buy certain parts of player books that they wanted. Like, I don't want to buy Eberron, but I want the Artificer. So they would buy the Artificer class,
Yeah,
and that would add it to their player book so they could use the Artificer. So I guess as a player, if I didn't want to buy Tashan's Cauldron to everything, but I wanted to still to buy the one variant of some class that they had, I
yeah,
could do that.
yeah.
Well, they got
For a player, that's it's a good idea. It makes sense. I I haven't used D&D Beyond. I don't know the specifics of how it works, but I assume that you have to have bought the book with all of those classes and subclasses in it for you to be able to use them in D&D Beyond. Am I correct in that?
yes,
So for them to be able to spend $4 to get the subclass that they're going to be playing for this adventure, okay,
right,
that's way better than having to drop 30 or 50 or whatever the hell it would be.
yeah. So it definitely was a feature. I think people used it. I never saw a lot of people going, "Oh my god, this is the best feature ever." I didn't never heard a peep about it.
Mhm.
Okay, and like I said, it always was there. I used it occasionally. I don't have the numbers on how often it was used, but I personally kind of just don't feel like it would be of use for me in most cases. All right.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's more for players,
it may be
honestly.
more for players. And from so that's just my perspective on this system. So I mentioned all that to then mention they got rid of it.
Of course they did. They
It's no longer a thing, and you think it would be a thing. I guess maybe they ran the numbers and said, "Hey, we can make more money if players were buying all of Tasha's instead of nickel and diming them." But I don't
yeah.
know. Maybe the math works out better. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But they got rid of it, and some people are very 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 pissed off about that. Now, what they did, what players did, being the crafty individuals that they are, and not wanting to spend money, they decided to put all the content, or at least start adding that content that was not part of Creative Commons, all right,
Mhm.
like the Artificer class, and adding it to the Homebrew section of D&D Beyond, which is free to use as long as you have an account, which is free to have, okay?
Okay.
And there are already rules stating that, hey, you can't do this. You can't
Yeah.
create a subclass that matches a subclass that already exists. But they were just changing it just enough to not get auto caught by the sensors, and we need someone to manually sit down and go through and pick out all that stuff that is actually the same.
Right.
Okay. Um, so I believe they announced they're going to get rid of the homebrew section in D&D Beyond,
Oh.
unless you're paying for the master tier subscription.
Oh, they might be well, I wanna say they might be shooting themselves in the foot doing
Yeah,
that, but it's hard to say because if it's the homebrew section that people are using, that means they're not spending much money on it anyway, if any.
right.
So them losing those people might not actually cost them money. On the other side is it might just piss everyone off to the point that they just walk away from D&D Beyond, including the paying subscribers.
Right.
So
Now,
that's going to be interesting.
yeah, I'm a fan of D&D Beyond. I will sing its praises. I like how it works. I think it's clean. Yes, there are problems with it, but you really have to get down to the nitpicky problems to really have an issue with it, you know?
Uh-huh.
Like custom homebrew items don't reset their counts when when a long rest happens. Like, oh wow, like that's been a bug, quote unquote, since it started, and they've never fixed it. Like, okay, but that's a very specific thing for a very, very specific thing. So, 99.8% of the time, it functions perfectly as a great way of getting everything together and building out everything that you want.
Yeah.
So, I honestly don't have any complaints about using D&D Beyond or anything like that at all. So, I kind of just, if they get rid of Homebrew, that's gonna hurt because I do use it a lot. But if they're gonna put it underneath the hey, you have to subscribe to use it tier, I I'm okay with that. I I understand if it's free right now and everyone can use it as long as you have any kind of account. But if they're gonna say no, we don't want you to do that because you guys have now flooded our homebrew thing with the content that we're trying to get you to pay for, and you skirted around the rules that like this way, so now you have to give us $5 a month to access all your stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just
I,
the world we live in now. So
so the masters tier is $5 a month.
no,
Oh, okay.
so the masters tier. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Yeah, having never used D&D Beyond, I have no idea. I do have an account because
Yeah.
I made a character for your game that one time.
So the hero tier lets you have unlimited characters, unlimited encounters, add publicly shared homebrew content, early access to new player tools, monthly subscriber perks, and that's it. The Masters tier lets you share content that you've unlocked with other players, host game sessions with maps, and has up to 10 gigabytes of storage, which I don't know what the storage is. The Hero tier is $2.17 a month. The Masters tier is $4.58 a month. So you don't even need to spend the $5 a month. You have to spend the $2 a month to get the homebrew content.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest about this. I thought when you're like masters tier, I'm like, oh, it's $30 a month or some shit like
Mm,
that.
no.
So literally $5 a month to have
And that's for
access to.
DMs.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's DMs creating. Here's my session. Here's all the content I want you to use. Feel free to use it. That's what I use to gift to my players so they can play.
yeah. I'm not gonna blink twice at $5 a month for something like that.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I sit there and they go, "Oh, they locked homebrew content behind the pay tiers." I'm
Yeah,
surprised they didn't have that to begin with.
yeah. I'm actually, because it's so cheap. I'm very surprised they didn't already have that locked behind there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I really was thinking it was, 15, 20, $30 for a month for something like that. So,
I mean
yeah.
that's the rumor for when the system comes out for the VTT that they're going to improve it a lot, but they're also going to microtransaction you to like, oh, you want to buy the Goblin package? Well, here the basic one's $10. The advanced
Yeah.
goblins are 15.
I would expect the VTT to be reasonably cheap, in a similar manner, but but you have to buy everything for it. They might give you some basic little things so you can operate it, but if you want the cool shit,
I,
you're
I
gonna have
would
to
think they
pony
would
up.
give you everything in Collective Commons for
Yeah.
free.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But if you want to actually run those adventures, you're gonna have to pony up the dough.
Yeah. Um, and I'm fine with it. I'm fine with that. Right now, and unfortunately I haven't done this myself, but you can right now for Foundry, which is my VTT of choice, you can buy the Shattered Obelisk adventure and have everything import into that as a module for you ready to run with all the maps that came in the book, all the monsters. Click and drag and drop it on the game. Like that's a licensed thing that they worked out with them.
Yeah.
Like I said, I haven't spent the time yet to actually play with that and play through that, but you know, I'd be buying that. I'd be honest, like said, like yeah, you can cry and complain that your content costs money, but guess what? I'm an adult and I have money, and I this is my hobby, and I understand that, and I will spend money on things that I enjoy and like. If
Yeah.
you really want to not pay anything for D&D, I'm sure there's some 5e tools based website out there that you can access and get your shit.
Yeah, it's called Roll20. Like, the one time I ran online, I used Roll20.
Well,
I paid nothing. It worked great.
I know, but I'm saying there might be some 5e tools that you can Google to get all the rest of the
Yeah.
content out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
So
And,
I mean,
yeah.
like eh, if
You
you
know
want to be a pirate and sail the open seas, that's fine. But you can't cry about a company that's trying to make their money to pay their employees
Yep.
when they're not even like overcharging you for that stuff either.
Yeah.
Right now, yeah, it sucks that I can buy the book and the digital book for $60. Well, actually, it doesn't suck. That's a great price. I think that's a good price point. $50 for the book, $10 for it online, $60. Great. I'm sold. That is a great price point for me. If you can't afford it, okay, don't buy every single book. Um, or sail the open seas and find it. I don't know, but like that works for me. It takes money out of my LGS. That's why I've been buying the collector's edition from the LGS and the basic book online, because it just works and I feel satisfied with that. $2 to have all the homebrew content and subscriber perks and make all the characters that I want and share all the content that I need for 5. All right, I'm good with that too. Like,
I will bitch and complain about WotC because they're a garbage company. But when they're just trying to actually make a product and sell it,
yeah,
and they're actually making it reasonably priced, I don't have a problem with that.
yeah,
You know,
I don't. Yeah. So the few articles that I saw, the few forum contents out there that I saw on Reddit and elsewhere, crying and complaining that their homebrew content that they were using because they put the Artificer up there as the robot man, and now it got taken away from them forever.
pay two
Tough,
bucks.
tough shit.
Yeah, pay $2. Just get the fuck
Yeah,
over it.
the world's not ending. They're not getting rid of D&D Beyond. They're doubling down on it, and good for them. It's a great tool
Yeah,
that people should be
they'll make
using more.
because a lot of D&D is run online these days. They will absolutely make money on it, and that is fine. Make your money. Like, I don't have an issue with any of this stuff. I have
No,
issue a lot of times with books they release, lack of content, things like that. But the stuff that they do release, it's out there, man. If they want to make you pay 10 extra bucks to get the entire thing on D&D Beyond, okay, that's, 10 bucks is not that, it's not a terrible price for a PDF or whatever access you're going to get to that.
right. So,
Um, by the way, I don't know why we didn't talk about Eve of Vecna. This
well, because I like I said, I tried to buy it, but because of the revamp, everything that kind of went on, I
okay.
couldn't buy the book
Yeah,
from them.
I had forgotten last week before LARP, like on Thursday, I was seeing all of these videos pop up on YouTube about first look at Eve of
Yeah,
Vec or Eve of Ruin or whatever the fuck it is.
like I
So
said, there's the prequel adventures out on D&D Beyond. I have yet to look at it. I've just been swamped with honestly the LARP's prep and stuff. So,
yeah, yeah.
um, and I was like, I wanted to get the book. If I could buy it, I would be reading it now because it's out now. Um, but I may just have to wait until I get it physically before I can talk about it, which will suck. But there's plenty of stuff to talk about other than the Eve of Vecna, the last
Yeah.
5e adventure.
Yep. Before 5.5 comes out.
I mean, it does look like it's going to be pretty hairy and pretty fun. So we'll see.
Look, it's a high level adventure. I'm all for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, since there are literally none of them for 5e.
this is the only one.
Yep.
You better play it, guys. That's all you're getting.
Yeah,
Um,
I probably won't. I'm playing a homebrew game right now, and then there's a pretty good chance we're actually going to go back and play the Ravenloft Strahd adventure since I've never
Oh,
gotten to play it.
that'd be fun.
Yeah, my buddy Mike's talking about running it. We might have the players for it. It would probably be like a Sunday game or something like that
Oh, that'd be
on
cool.
off weekends. But hey, any more D&D I can get in, I'm going to. And I love Ravenloft. I've been wanting to play it. So,
Yeah. Well, how about some Pathfinder content for you as the
oh,
final topic for this podcast?
wow, I love that we had no topics and now we found two new topics.
Well, I was lying earlier.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I
I
have
do.
plenty of podcast topics.
That's fair. I do love Pathfinder
All right.
conversations though.
So this Pathfinder, I put a link in our Discord to a new WizKids product where they're releasing a life-size version of their Pathfinder baby goblin. Oh my god, do I want this? Now, I don't normally like Pathfinder goblins, okay? I
I
think
mean, they're World of Warcraft goblins.
they're too World of Warcraft goblins. They're very stereotypical goblin. Like I like a little bit of flair with it. I
It's like
like the way the fourth edition, fifth edition ones have been kind of drawn out.
he
They
looks like
look very chaotic.
he's
They don't
evil.
look like something I want to bed.
He's evil baby Yoda.
So this one, yes, looks like evil baby Yoda, and I just couldn't like. I want this one so bad. He's got a little skull rattle, big glowy red eyes. It looks
Yeah,
so adorable. I
yeah.
want it.
He's hand painted and made of soft foam. Apparently, stands 8 inches tall. Uh,
That's the life size. So when they have a baby, when it's so a goblin baby, when it has enough concept to sit up straight, use a rattle and smile and actually have emotion, it's only 8 inches tall.
yeah.
Like human babies aren't born 8 inches tall. By the time they can sit up and like have emotion and express feelings and shit and crawl around, they're like close to 2. So they're like 2 feet.
Yep. Well,
You know?
goblins have very short lifespans, and let's be honest. Look at his head. Like you've seen a human baby, and they generally have like giant heads on small bodies, but this one is a giant head on a small body.
I couldn't pass this by. I was just like, this is hilarious. I want to put it up there. I want to have this be like a monster to the end of a campaign. I want to base it and use it.
Oh, you could totally make it an atropole.
Theatrical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just use it
Oh,
as a mini figure for an atropole.
oh man, I totally fucking would.
For anybody who is not familiar with the atropole, it's basically the undead corpse of a baby god, that basically a stillborn god, and
Yeah.
it is one of the most horrific monsters in all of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep, and it's in Tomb of Annihilation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the one in Tomb of Annihilation was a weaker version of it, but they are just, oh, they're nasty. They're so nasty.
Yeah, it was technically a weaker version of it because Asarak was using it to power the death curse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I don't know what the 5e CR on them is. I know it's over level 20. Like, it's definitely higher than 20 as far as CR for natural pole.
I can find that out real quick for you. Give me a second. I
Yeah,
don't think it was that high. Um, Now Asarak is pretty high. Um, and like you're not really supposed to win Two of Annihilation.
yeah,
Like
so much
there's
as
no,
survive it.
yeah.
So
Uh,
third edition or 3.5 challenge rating is 30.
okay. The Atropole in Tomb of Annihilation has a CR of 13.
Oh, okay. Yeah, much weaker than it should be,
Right.
which makes
Uh,
sense.
Not necessarily that it's weaker, but it is being siphoned off a little bit, and it's still even if you're only level 11 when you face this,
Yeah.
okay. Its armor class is 7. It's hovering over a giant pit of lava. All right. and you're really supposed to destroy the machine that it's attached to, um, because if the machine drops in the lava, the atropol kind of goes with it. Now, the thing about the atropol is like you can't really defeat it without a vorpal sword, and you don't get one in,
Okay.
in Tomb of Annihilation. So, good luck with all that.
So the encounter is CR13.
No, the atropol is CR13. The encounter is probably like CR18.
Okay.
And then on top of that, Azarek does show up during the encounter. So he kind of throws it all into wibbly wobbly section.
Okay, so the other variant of it is apparently CR24.
Okay. That would be about
Uh,
right.
yeah, Atropol Godling. I don't know exactly where that's being pulled from. But
Azarek is CR23. And
okay.
he shows up mid fight with the Atropol.
But it's called Atropol Scion, SCION. Yeah,
Um,
challenge
it's,
rating 24.
I don't think it's official.
It may not be,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. The CR13 one that's next to it may or may not be as well. But
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, he's really being drained of all of his energies, so it makes sense that he's a little bit lower.
mhm.
And like the encounter is just near impossible anyway. It's just how it's set up. Like you're over a 200-foot pit of lava, so if you fall down there, you're just dead. You get pulled there a lot. Azarek shows up. It's really an unwinnable encounter.
Right.
So, um,
Yeah, I was trying to find my epic level 5e handbook, and while it is not official, it's still very, very useful if you're running
yeah.
level 20 plus games. And I would assume it's probably in there somewhere also. But anyway, once again,
But
not official, but still, it should be over CR20 for sure.
the official Tarrasque can be destroyed just with a magic crossbow, and a flying carpet. Yeah, well, my Tarrasque breathes fucking radiation beams out of its mouth because it's Godzilla. So, fuck your flying carpet. It's not
Flying,
official.
I always hated flying carpets. They're fucking dumb.
I know, aren't they? Flying brooms.
Yeah, flying
If you're
broom.
if you're not a witch, you don't get a flying broom. I'm sorry. If
Uh,
you are a witch, okay, you get a flying broom.
yeah, Muffin actually had a flying broom in one of the campaigns that we played, and I'm trying to find the actual wording on it right now, but I don't think you're required to sit on the broom.
So he stood on it.
He stood on it. Yes. Um, Functions like a mundane broom until you stand astride it and speak its command word. It then hovers beneath you and can be ridden in the air. So you have to get on it like a horse, but there's nothing that says you have to maintain that. So yeah, he just stood on it the entire time.
I've told you about the anime called Mashal, Magic and Muscles.
Probably.
Essentially, it's a riff on Harry Potter, where
Okay.
like the world that this character lives in, everyone has like this magic marker on their face, and there's tons of variants of it. Everyone has magical powers, except for this one dude named Mashal, and Mashal basically just lifts every day. So he's super, 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 super strong, and he's fucking dumb as a
So
box of bricks.
so it's the weightlifting version of One Punch Man.
Yeah, essentially. So everyone everyone thinks he has magic powers because he basically is like, oh yeah, I can make that thing go blow out with my wand, and he'll just like whip the raw wand real fast and like create wind and blow out the candle. He can fly on the magic broom because he kicks his legs back and forth so fast he flies. It's a dumb fucking anime.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it really is, but it's quite funny. It's a comedy, so um, it,
So he's not actually a wizard. He's just
he's just
ridiculously
super
powerful.
strong, and
Yeah.
everyone thinks his magic is strength. So it's like, yeah, they're all idiots too.
Well, all right then. So you have any other topics you want to throw onto the other topics you didn't have?
I have 3 more plans, but
Okay, well,
since you're Mr. McNo Topic, the boy with no topics.
I had multiple topics. We just got through them quicker than I thought we would.
Uh huh. We'll save them from next time.
Yeah, well, next week, which book are we going over? Because I know you have more.
I have it right here, actually.
A little sad we didn't go more in depth on the Immortals one.
I
Maybe
mean,
another time.
it's just what I said, man. It's just a planescape, and we've talked about that a lot in details. If someone wants to, you're listening out there, you want to hear more of what 1E D&D Planescape was, let me know, and I will read through the book and talk about it more in detail.
All right. Well,
And
that's
I'm
all I
Grumpy
got.
Dungeon Master Christopher because we forgot to do this at the start.
Oh yeah, we did. You forgot for once. I was ready, and then you just blew it right on into things.
I know I'm tired.
So I'm Grumpy Dungeon Master Jay. Thanks for listening. Goodbye, Craig.